Jai Hind everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge etc. The events of 20th November 2024 are follows. Bengali date 4 অগ্রহায়ণ 1431. As per Benimadhav Silponjika, today's Tithi is Krishna Panchami and up to 2040 hours and after that Krishna Shoshti. Today's Nakhotra is Punarvasu Nakhotra and up to 1916 hours and after that Pusha Nakhotra. Today is 325th day of the year. There are then 41 days left in 2024. Today is 47th Wednesday of 2024. Today is World Children's Day. Children's Day is a commemorative date celebrated annually in honor of children, whose date of observations varies by country. In 1925, International Children's Day was first proclaimed in Geneva during the World Conference on Child Welfare. Since 1950, it is celebrated on 1st June in many countries, which follow the suggestion from Women's International Democratic Federation. World Children's Day is celebrated on 20th November to commemorate the Declaration of the Rights of the Child by the UN General Assembly on 20th November 1959. In some countries, it is Children's Week and not Children's Day. Today is Transgender Day of Remembrance. The Transgender Day of Remembrance, observed annually on November 20, commemorates those murdered due to transphobia and highlights violence against transgender people. Founded in 1999 by Gwendolyn Ann Smith, Nancy Nangaroni, and Zaharia De Alto, TDOR honors black transgender women Rita Hester and Chanel Piquet, whose murders occurred in November in Massachusetts. Gwendolyn Ann Smith initiated TDOR after realizing the lack of remembrance for Piquet's 1995 murder when Hester was killed in 1998. The first observances were held in Boston and San Francisco in November 1999. By 2010, TDOR expanded to over 185 cities across 20 plus countries. TDOR memorials often include reading the names of victims from October 1 of the previous year to September 30 of the current year. Events may feature candlelight vigils, church services, marches, art shows, food drives, and film screenings. Organizations like GLAD actively support TDOR by profiling events, interviewing transgender advocates, and raising awareness through media coverage. Today is International Hage Runner Day. International Hage Runner Day, also known as Hage Runner Day, is celebrated annually on November 20th. This fun and uplifting observance is dedicated to recognizing the efforts, passion, and perseverance of runners worldwide. It's a day to show appreciation for runners of all levels, from beginners to marathon champions, by giving them a hug, a simple gesture of encouragement and recognition for their hard work and dedication. Today is World COPD Day. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD) is a widespread and progressive lung disease that affects millions of people worldwide. Despite its prevalence, COPD often goes undiagnosed and untreated, leading to significant health complications and reduced quality of life for those affected. To address this issue and raise awareness about COPD, the creation of World Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease Day presents a crucial opportunity to educate the public, support patients, and advocate for better policies and resources to combat this chronic condition. Today is birth anniversary of King Tipu Sultan, 20th November 1750 to 4th May 1799. Tipu Sultan, known as the Tiger of Mysore, was the ruler of the Kingdom of Mysore in South India and a pioneer of rocket artillery. He enhanced Mysorean rockets and deployed them against British forces during the Anglo-Mysore Wars, including the Battle of Pollilur and the siege of Srirangapatna. He and his father Hyder Ali used a French-trained army in alliances against the British and other regional powers like the Marathas and Travancore. Tipu became ruler in 782 during the Second Anglo-Mysore War and negotiated the Treaty of Mangalore in 1784 to maintain a status quo. Tipu's reign saw conflicts like the Maratha-Mysore War ending with the Treaty of Gajendragad. His attack on British ally Travancore in 1789 led to the Third Anglo-Mysore War and the Treaty of Srirangapattam, resulting in territorial losses. In the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, he was defeated and killed on 4th May 1799, defending Srirangapattam. Tipu introduced administrative innovations such as a new coinage system, calendar, and land revenue reforms, fostering the Mysore silk industry and supporting Chanapatna toys. Today is death anniversary of Mr. Leo Tolstoy, 9th September 1828 to 20th November 1910. Count Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy, usually referred to in English as Leo Tolstoy, was a Russian writer. He is regarded as one of the greatest and most influential authors of all time. He received nominations for the Nobel Prize in Literature every year from 1902 to 1906 and for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1901, 1902 and 1909 but did not awarded. Today is death anniversary of Mr. Avenger Cobb Morley, 16 August 1831 to 20th November 1924. Avenger Cobb Morley was an English sportsman. He is regarded as one of the fathers of the Football Association (FA) and modern football. The 1863 laws written by Morley, the first secretary of the FA, includes the rule no player shall carry the ball in 2013, marking the 150th anniversary of the FA. The rule book was displayed at the British Library alongside Magna Carta and works of Shakespeare. Today is birth anniversary of Mr. Edwin Hubble, 20th November 1889 to 28th September 1953. Edwin Powell Hubble was an American astronomer. He played a crucial role in establishing the fields of extragalactic astronomy and observational cosmology. Hubble proved that many objects previously thought to be clouds of dust and gas as classified as nebulae were actually galaxies beyond the Milky Way. He used the strong direct relationship between a classical Cepheid variable luminosity and pulsation period discovered in 1908 by Henrietta Swan Leavitt for scaling galactic and extragalactic distances. Hubble confirmed in 1929 that the recessional velocity of a galaxy increases with its distance from Earth, a behavior that became known as Hubble's law. Although it had been proposed 2 years earlier by Georges Lemaitre, the Hubble law implies that the universe is expanding. A decade before, the American astronomer Vesto Slipher had provided the first evidence that the light from many of these nebulae was strongly red-shifted and indicative of high recession velocities. Hubble's name is most widely recognized for the Hubble Space Telescope, which was named in his honor, with a model prominently displayed in his hometown of Marshfield, Missouri. Today is death anniversary of Miss Margaret Stiles, 19 March 1930 to 20th November 2005. Margaret Greta Madden Stiles was an American nurse, author, educator, and nursing school dean who conceived and helped establish national standards for certifying nurses in pediatrics, cardiology, and other medical specialties. Dr. Stiles was the president of the American Nurses Association from 1986 to 1988 and wrote 5 books and many articles published in medical journals. Today is birth anniversary of flying Sikh Mr. Milkha Singh, 20th November 1929 to 18th June 2021. Milkha Singh, known as the Flying Sikh, was an Indian sprinter introduced in athletics during his time in the Indian Army. He remains the only athlete to win gold in the 400 meter at both the Asian and Commonwealth Games, securing gold in the 1958 and 1962 Asian Games. Singh represented India in the 1956, 1960 and 1964 Olympics and was honored with the Padma Shri for his achievements. His most memorable race was the 400-meter final at the 1960 Olympics, where he finished fourth, leading until the 200-meter mark. He slowed down, allowing others to surpass him. The race, decided by a photo finish, saw Otis Davis narrowly beating Carl Koopman. Singh's time of 45.73 seconds remained India's national record for nearly 40 years. Orphaned during the partition of India, Singh overcame hardships to become a national icon. In 2008, journalist Rohit Brijnath called him the India's finest athlete. Singh passed away on 18 June 2021 at 91 due to COVID-19, 5 days after his wife Nirmal Saini. Today's death anniversary of Mr. Francis William Aston, 1st September 1877 to 20th November 1945. Francis William Aston, FRS, was a British chemist and physicist who won the 1922 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his discovery by means of his mass spectrograph of isotopes in many non-radioactive elements and for his enunciation of the whole number rule. Francis Aston discovered the isotopes of the light elements of the Cavendish laboratory in 1919 using his newly devised mass spectrograph. Today's death anniversary of Sir Aaron Clark, 11th August 1926 to 20th November 2018. Sir Aaron Clark was a British biophysicist and chemist. He was winner of the 1982 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his development of crystallographic electron microscopy and his structural elucidation of biologically important nucleic acid protein complexes. Today is birth anniversary of Miss Selma Ottiliana Lovisa Lagerlöf, 20th November 1858 to 16 March 1940. Selma Ottila Lovisa Lagerlöf was a Swedish writer. She published her first novel, Gösta Berling's Saga, at the age of 33. She was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, which she was awarded in 1909. Additionally, she was the first woman to be granted a membership in the Swedish Academy in 1914. Today is birth anniversary of Mr. Karl von Frisch, 20th November 1886 to 12th June 1982. Karl Ritter von Frisch was a German-Austrian ethologist who received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1973 along with Nicholas Tinbergen and Konrad Lorenz. His work centered on investigations of the sensory perceptions of the honeybee, and he was one of the first to translate the meaning of the Wagle dance. His theory, described in his 1927 book Aus dem Leben der Bienen, translated into English as The Dancing Bees, was disputed by other scientists and greeted with skepticism at the time. Only much later was it shown to be an accurate theoretical analysis. Today's birth anniversary of Miss Nadine Gordimer, 20th November 1923 to 13th July 2014. Nadine Gordimer was a South African writer and political activist. She received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1991, recognized as a writer who, through her magnificent epic writing, has been of very great benefit to humanity. Gordimer was one of the most honored female writers of her generation. She received the Booker Prize for the Conservationist and the Central News Agency Literary Award for the Conservationist, Burger's Daughter and July's People. Gordimer's writing dealt with moral and racial issues, particularly apartheid in South Africa. Under that regime, works such as Burger's Daughter were banned. She was active in the anti-apartheid movement, joining the African National Congress during the days when the organization was banned, and gave Nelson Mandela advice on his famous 1964 defense speech at the trial, which led to his conviction for life. She was also active in HIV and AIDS causes. Today, that is 20th November, highlight in history. 1695, Zumbi, the last of the leaders of Quilombo dos Palmares in early Brazil, is executed by the forces of Portuguese Bandeirante Domingos Jorge Velho. 1739, start of the Battle of Portobello between British and Spanish forces during the War of Jenkins' Year. 1776, American Revolutionary War. British forces land at the Palisades and then attack Fort Lee. The Continental Army starts to retreat across New Jersey. 1789, New Jersey becomes the first US state to ratify the Bill of Rights. 1805, Beethoven's only opera, Fidelio, premieres in Vienna. 1815, the Second Treaty of Paris is signed, returning the French frontiers to their 1790 extent, imposing large indemnities and prolonging the occupation by troops of Great Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia for several more years. 1820, an 80-ton sperm whale attacks and sinks the Essex, a whaling ship from Nantucket, Massachusetts, 3,200 kilometers (2,000 miles) from the western coast of South America. Herman Melville's 1851 novel Moby Dick was in part inspired by this incident. 1845, Anglo-French blockade of the Rio de la Plata, Battle of Blueta de Obligado. 1861, American Civil War, a secession ordinance is filed by Kentucky's Confederate government. 1873, Garnier expedition, French forces under Lieutenant Francis Garnier captured Hanoi from the Vietnamese. 1900, the French actress Sarah Bernhardt receives the praise at the Savoy Hotel in New York at the outset of her first visit since 1896. She talked about her impending tour with a troupe of more than 50 performers and her plans to play the title role in Hamlet. 1910, Mexican Revolution. Francisco I. Madero issues the Plan de San Luis Potosí, denouncing Mexican President Porfirio Diaz, calling for a revolution to overthrow the government of Mexico, effectively starting the Mexican Revolution. 1917, World War I. Battle of Cambrai begins. British forces make early progress in an attack on German positions but are later pushed back. 1936, Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera, founder of the Falange, is killed by Republican execution squad. 1940, World War II. Hungary becomes a signatory of the Tripartite Pact, officially joined the Axis powers. 1943, World War II. Battle of Tarawa, Operation Galvanic begins. United States Marines land on Tarawa Atoll in the Gilbert Islands and suffer heavy fire from Japanese shore guns and machine guns. 1945, Nuremberg trials. Trials against 24 Nazi war criminals start at the Palace of Justice at Nuremberg. 1947, the Princess Elizabeth marries Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten, who becomes the Duke of Edinburgh at Westminster Abbey in London. 1959, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child is adopted by the United Nations. 1962, Cuban Missile Crisis ends. In response to the Soviet Union agreeing to remove its missiles from Cuba, US President John F. Kennedy ends the quarantine of the Caribbean nation. 1968, a total of 78 miners are killed in an explosion at the Consolidated Coal Company's No. 9 mine in Farmington, West Virginia, in the Farmington mine disaster. 1969, Vietnam War. The plane dealer Cleveland, Ohio, publishes explicit photographs of dead villagers from the My Lai massacre in Vietnam. 1969, occupation of Alcatraz. Native American activists seize control of Alcatraz Island until being ousted by the US government in June 11, 1971. 1974, the United States Department of Justice files its final antitrust suit against AT&T Corporation. This suit later leads to the breakup of AT&T and its Bell system. 1974, the first fatal crash of a Boeing 747 occurs when Lufthansa Flight 540 crashes while attempting to take off from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, Kenya, killing 59 out of the 157 people on board. 1977, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat becomes the first Arab leader to officially visit Israel when he meets Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin and speaks before the Knesset in Jerusalem seeking a permanent peace settlement. 1979, Grand Mosque seizure. About 200 Sunni Muslims revolt in Saudi Arabia at the site of the Kaaba in Mecca during the pilgrimage and take about 6,000 hostages. The Saudi government receives help from Pakistani special forces to put down the uprising. 1980, Lake Piegnar in Louisiana drains into an underlying salt deposit. A misplaced Texaco oil probe had been drilled into the diamond crystal salt mine, causing water to flow down into the mine, eroding the edges of the hole. 1985, Microsoft Windows 1.0, the first graphical personal computer operating environment developed by Microsoft, is released. 1989, Velvet Revolution. The number of protesters assembled in Prague, Czechoslovakia swells from 2 lakh the day before to an estimated half million. 1990, Andrei Chikatilo, one of the Soviet Union's most prolific serial killers, is arrested. He eventually confesses to 56 killings. 1991, an Azerbaijani Mi-8 helicopter carrying 19 peacekeeping mission team with officials and journalists from Russia, Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan is shot down by Armenian military forces in Khojaven district of Azerbaijan. In 1992, in England, a fire breaks out in Windsor Castle, badly damaging the castle and causing over 50 million pound worth of damage. 1993, Savings and Loan Crisis. The United States Senate Ethics Committee issues stern censure of California Senator Alan Cranston for his dealings with savings and loan executive Charles Keating. 1993, North Macedonia's deadliest aviation disaster occurs when Aviopex Flight 110, a Yakovlev Yak-42, crashes near Ohrid, killing all 106 people on board. 1994, the Angolan government and UNITA rebels signs the Lusaka Protocol in Zambia, ending 19 years of civil war. Localized fighting resumes the next year. 1996, a fire breaks out in an office building in Hong Kong, killing 41 people and injuring 81. 1998, a court in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan declares accused terrorist Osama bin Laden a man without a sin in regard to the 1998 US Embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania. 1998, the first space station model component Zarya for the International Space Station is launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. 2003, after the November 15 bombings, a second day of the 2003 Istanbul bombings occurs in Istanbul, Turkey, destroying the Turkish head office of HSBC Bank AS and the British consulate. 2015, following a hostage siege, at least 19 people are killed in Bamako, Mali. 2016, Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Cup Series championship to tie Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt for the most all-time. 2022, the 2022 FIFA World Cup begins in Qatar. This is the first time the tournament was held in the Middle East. Thank you for very much for your patience.